A small town. A stray dog. A bridge everyone crossed but never questioned. Each evening, the dog barked at the same spot, never stopping, never giving up. People laughed, threw rocks, told him to shut up. But the truth? That dog wasn't crazy. He was trying to warn them, and what lay beneath the bridge would shock the entire town. Milltown was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, and their business. It was small, sun-drenched in summer, frozen over in winter, and blissfully uneventful. Except for one thing. The dog. He had no name, no owner, no collar. But every day, without fail, he came to the old railway bridge and barked. Every single evening. Some said he was mad. Others claimed he had rabies. A few teenagers made fun of him, filmed him for TikTok, laughed, but he kept barking, always at the same spot, like he was trying to tell someone something was wrong. But no one listened. Not until the night of the storm. Not until it was almost too late. The bridge had stood since the 1940s, back when trains still mattered. Now it was mostly a shortcut. Locals crossed under it on foot to get to the town square or the elementary school. Kids played around it. Skaters tagged the walls. Couples kissed beneath it. No one gave it a second thought, except the dog. He would sit at the southern arch, near a patch of weeds and rusted fence, and bark into the darkness, sometimes for hours. Some said it started a year ago. Others claimed they'd seen him before, a puppy once, running along the tracks. But now, fully grown, his fur matted and his eyes too wise, he had one purpose: bark, wait, repeat. That Friday evening, the sky cracked open in a late summer storm. Lightning flashed. Rain slammed the streets. Power flickered across Milltown. And for the first time in months, the barking stopped. Mrs. Hollis, who lived in the old bakery across from the bridge, noticed it first. She'd grown oddly used to the dog's voice. It helped her sleep. Now she sat up in bed, uneasy. Across town, Officer Grant pulled on his boots. The storm was causing down trees and blackouts. Calls flooded the station. But one call stood out. A child was missing. Her name was Maddie, 8 years old. Last seen walking home from school. Her route? The same shortcut under the bridge. Parents were frantic. Police formed search teams. Neighbors combed the woods. Hours passed. No sign. And still, no barking. At 3:12 a.m., Mrs. Hollis heard it. A bark, long, sharp, desperate. She rushed to the window. There he was. The dog was back. And he wasn't just barking. He was scratching, digging, pawing at the weeds under the bridge like his life depended on it. She called 911. Officer Grant answered. He was already on his way. Grant pulled up with his flashlight and boots soaked. The dog didn't run, didn't growl. He barked once, then looked back, then barked again. Grant followed him down the slope of the embankment, toward a patch of vines beside the southern arch. There, the dog scratched furiously at a small, rotting wooden plank embedded in the ground. A cellar door? A covered hole? Grant yanked it open, and what he saw made his knees buckle. Inside the pit was a small, dirt-covered space. A few broken toys, pink jacket, and huddled in the corner, covered in mud and shaking, was Maddie. Alive. Grant called for backup, his voice breaking. The girl had bruises but no serious injuries. She whispered only one thing. The dog. He didn't leave me. The girl had been found under the bridge. And the dog? The same one they'd mocked? He had saved her. The police couldn't explain it. Maddie had no idea how she'd gotten in there. There were signs someone had placed the wooden cover on purpose, as if trying to hide the space. And no one would have found her, if not for the dog. Who put Maddie under the bridge? Why had the dog started barking months ago, long before the girl was even missing? And what else was hiding in Milltown's shadows? Officer Grant couldn't shake the feeling that this dog had seen something much darker, and he was about to find out exactly what. At Milltown General Hospital, Maddie sat in her bed, a blanket around her shoulders, her eyes hollow. Her mother wept at her bedside. Her father paced the hallway. Detectives had questions, lots of them, but Maddie barely spoke. She was cold, her mother said, but otherwise okay. She kept whispering. Her father added, "The man in the shadows." That phrase sent a chill through Officer Grant. Who was the man in the shadows? Milltown couldn't stop talking about the dog. People left food outside. Local kids made a Facebook page. Animal shelters offered to take him in, but he wouldn't leave the bridge. Officer Grant tried approaching him again, holding out a leash. The dog didn't move, until Grant whispered, "You saved her." Then, slowly, the dog came forward. Grant took him in that night. His daughter, Lily, named him Shadow, because he came from the dark to protect us. Shadow finally had a home, but he wasn't done barking. Grant couldn't sleep. Something about that pit Maddie had been trapped in, it felt too deliberate, too precise. He started digging through old police archives. Break-ins, disappearances, lost kids. Then he found it, case #114B from 12 years ago. A boy named Kyle, age 9, last seen riding his bike. Near the same bridge. Never found. His dog, another stray, had barked for days, but no one looked. The case was closed. Cold. Shadow growled that night, low, guttural. Grant turned off the lamp and stepped outside. The wind was cold, and the street was dead quiet. Shadow led him, not toward the bridge, but to the woods near it. There, behind a thicket, Shadow began to dig furiously. Grant helped. They unearthed a box, a small metal lunchbox sealed with rust. Inside, a toy train, an old baseball card, and a photograph. It was Maddie, but she was younger, in a different outfit. Behind her stood a shadowy figure. His face was turned. His hand rested on her shoulder. The photo was dated last year. Grant's stomach turned. They followed tracks, deep into the woods. An old cabin, hidden under vines and moss, stood where no one had gone in years. Shadow barked, growled, then suddenly whimpered. Grant kicked the door in. Inside, empty beer bottles, broken furniture, a camera stand, and in the corner, drawings. Dozens of them, all children, all with the same man standing behind them. The drawings were signed with a symbol, a small bridge icon, hand-drawn and crude. Whoever this man was, he had been watching children for years. Back at the hospital, Maddie finally talked. She said she saw the man once, under the bridge, offering candy. She ran, but someone grabbed her later, covered her eyes. She didn't remember anything else, except the dog. He kept barking. I heard him. He never left. Grant clenched his jaw. This wasn't over. Whoever had taken Maddie had done it before, and he was still out there. Shadow knew something, and now so did Grant. Grant returned to the bridge during daylight. He searched the graffiti, tags, paint, layers of nonsense. Then he found it. The same bridge symbol from the drawings, carved into the stone. Faint but deliberate. Above it, faded letters read, "We always hide beneath what they ignore." Goosebumps crawled up his arms. Whoever left that message wasn't hiding by accident. They were confident. They knew no one would look under the bridge, except a dog. Grant stood at the southern arch of the bridge, running his fingers across the deep grooves of the carved symbol. The crude bridge icon, The cryptic words. We always hide beneath what they ignore. He looked over his shoulder. Shadow was pacing nervously, ears perked, tail stiff. Grant's gut twisted. This wasn't just a random mark. It was a message. But from who? And to whom? Milltown gathered that evening for a candlelight vigil to honor Maddie and the miracle dog, Shadow. Local news crews came. Parents clutched their kids a little tighter. A pastor spoke, and townsfolk held flickering candles beneath the darkened sky. But as Grant scanned the crowd, something felt off. Near the back, under the large oak, a man stood alone, older, wearing a tan jacket, hood low. Shadow growled. Grant turned. But by the time he pushed through the crowd, the man had vanished. That night, Grant barely slept. His mind churned with questions. Why hadn't anyone looked under the bridge earlier? Why only now, after so many years? Shadow had led him to Maddie and to the cabin. Could he somehow sense what others couldn't? He remembered what Maddie said in the hospital. He never left. Grant started to wonder if this dog hadn't just seen things. Maybe he had been waiting for someone who would finally listen. Back at the precinct, Grant pulled older files. He dug further into archived boxes nearly forgotten in storage. One report stood out. 1991. Case #37F. A teenage girl, Claire Dennison, vanished walking home from school. Same bridge. Same age as Maddie. Case unsolved. But in the margins, the original officer scribbled a note. Witness says she saw a man under the bridge before Claire vanished. He was petting a brown dog. Grant's heart dropped. Brown dog? Could it be? Was Shadow not the first dog to warn them? Had someone or something been using dogs to lure children? Or maybe stop someone from doing it? Grant returned to the cabin. Shadow bolted inside, straight to a corner covered in old blankets. He began clawing at the floor. Grant pulled up the rotted wood. Another compartment. Inside, a VHS tape in a rusted tin. Label, Watch ME. He took it to the station, popped it into an old player. Static. Then, grainy footage of the bridge. Kids walking. One girl stops, looks behind her. A shadow moves. Then, static. Another clip. A man crouched near the bridge. Something in his hand. Candy. Grant froze. The camera zoomed. The man looked straight at the lens. Even in the blur, Grant felt his skin crawl. Then, darkness. Grant called in Detective Harrow from the state task force. Together, they spread out the evidence. Maddie, Kyle, Claire, the VHS, the bridge carvings. All linked, all ignored, until now. But why the same spot? Why the bridge? And then Harrow noticed something. All the kids were last seen near Milltown Elementary, all within walking distance of the bridge. Maddie's parents called Grant the next morning. She remembered something, her mother said. She drew it. He rushed over. Maddie handed him a piece of paper. It showed a tunnel beneath the bridge, and at the end a door, a wooden door with numbers on it. 327. That's where he goes, Maddie whispered. That's where he takes them. Grant raced back to the bridge. Shadow led him to the southern arch. They scoured the area, and then, there it was. A second trapdoor, different from the one Maddie had been found in. This one was sealed tighter, covered in leaves and wood debris. He pried it open. Steps led down. Shadow barked once, and they descended. The stairwell was narrow, made of cold, damp stone. Each creaking step echoed behind them. Shadow led the way, his nose low, ears stiff. The barking dog was silent now, focused. At the bottom was a corridor. Concrete. Old. Forgotten. Flickering bulbs hung from rusted wires. barely lighting the way. And then they saw it. A door. Wooden. Heavy. Carved across the top in jagged lettering. 327. Grant's hand trembled as he reached for the handle. The hinges groaned as the door opened. The smell hit first. Mildew, old rust, and something sour. Inside a room of horrors. Cages. Dozens of them. Small. Child-sized. Some empty. Some filled with broken toys, tattered clothes. Walls plastered with photographs. Children smiling, unaware. Dates were scribbled beneath each one. Some recent, others decades old. Grant staggered backward. Shadow growled low, deep, guttural. This was where they were brought, where the children vanished. A rusted locker in the corner held something worse. Notebooks. Grant opened one. Inside were pages of neatly written entries, names, ages, notes about behavior. Each child listed like a specimen. Kyle cried too much. Quiet after 3 days. Claire drew a picture of her mother before I took her outside. Maddie, more clever than the rest. The dog interfered. Grant dropped the book, stomach churning. This wasn't just some monster. This was planned. Footsteps. Grant froze. From a tunnel on the other side of the room, a figure appeared. Tall. Wearing a long coat. His face pale with a slight grin. Didn't think the dog would find it again, he said. Grant reached for his gun. The man raised his hands. Careful. You don't want to spook me. Not in a place like this. Who are you? Grant demanded. The man stepped into the light. Name's Edgar. Been part of this town longer than most. I keep things quiet. Shadow barked violently, lunging forward. Edgar didn't flinch. You think this ends with me? He said. This bridge hides more than just one man's secrets. Grant radioed backup, but static filled his earpiece. Edgar stepped toward a lever on the wall. Shadow leapt. They crashed into the man, both tumbling across the floor. In the chaos, the lever pulled down. A loud crack echoed. Pipes burst. Water rushed in. The tunnel was flooding. Grant grabbed Shadow by the collar and ran. Behind them, Edgar was gone, either crushed or lost beneath the rushing water. They barely made it out the hatch before the tunnel collapsed. 327 was buried, but at a cost. News broke the next morning. Underground chamber found under Milltown Bridge. Suspect presumed dead. Grant gave a statement, leaving out the details about Shadow's role. He didn't need to. Everyone already knew. Shadow became a local legend. A statue was built near the bridge in his honor. The town finally listened. To the barking. To the truth. Grant visited Mrs. Harper, Kyle's mother. She was older now, frail. He handed her something he'd found in the tunnel. Kyle's toy train. She wept. You believed me, she said. All these years. No, Grant replied. He did. He looked down at Shadow, who sat silently beside him. Shadow was no longer a stray. He stayed with Grant and with Lily. He still barked at strangers. Still sat long hours near the bridge. But now people understood. Sometimes a dog isn't just barking. Sometimes he's trying to tell us something. Thank you for watching this emotional and suspenseful story unfold. If this tale moved you, gave you chills, or made you see dogs in a whole new light, please like, share, and comment below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss another gripping story that dives deep into the emotions, the mysteries, and the truths we often overlook. Until next time, stay curious, and always listen closely, even if it's just a bark.